following program may contain coarse language, suggestive dialogue, and discussion of violent imagery and sexual situations. It is intended for mature listeners who can tell the difference between facts and opinions.
Clark goes primal on this episode of the Toonami Faithful podcast. I am your host, Sketch, and with me I have...
Bob Skrilla, the founder of ToonamiFaithful.com.
And...
a dog sitting at a Toyo Rider, Laser Kid.
And bringing up the rear.
Yeah, it's Streaming Steven once more, handling the stream.
You sound enthused.
I am so enthused, Captain.
I think he's been brainiaced.
He's giving exactly the amount of enthusiasm that should be directed towards the upcoming schedules.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
Well, my bets were on a My Adventures with Superman marathon. Well, I wasn't counting on 2. Gee, Clark, why do you get 2 marathons? Yep, we got... They're splitting it up. They're doing 5 episodes 1 week, and 5 episodes the next week. So, on Saturday, the 22nd, you get the first 5 episodes of the season. And then on Saturday, the 29th, you get the remaining 5 episodes of the season.
Wait. It's like you're giving us 1 marathon of one season and 1 marathon of the other.
Isn't it, though?
That's a good thought. A little story arc there.
This does actually work really nicely because of the story arcs and also like the mid-season climax. So both cases at the end of the night, you got a big send-off. So if they had done it all in one night, it would kind of feel weird, right? You would get like halfway through the night and be like, "Wow, that was crazy. What's this? What's this silly stuff going on now?" Get back to the action, Paul says. Get back to the action.
And they came through.
They did. They did indeed.
Oh, yes.
And we don't know what the September 5th lineup will be, but seeing as that's Labor Day weekend, probably not a regular schedule.
A Fooly Cooly marathon.
I wouldn't put it past them, but the one reason why I think they won't be doing that is because they need a 3rd week to finish Fooly Cooly Grunge, which is what they'll be sticking at 3:30 both of those other weeks.
That is a fair point.
So I think it'll be something else other than Fooly Cooly. And they also probably want to keep doing back-to-back episodes of Blue Exorcist reruns for reasons.
As long as they can.
So both of those weeks, you get 5 episodes of My Adventures with Superman, then you get 2 episodes of Blue Exorcist reruns, and then you cap the night off with Fooly Cooly Grunge. What a great way to end the night!
It's a way to end the night, that's for sure.
Let's be real. Pretty much everybody's going to tap out after the 5th episode of Superman.
I mean, yeah.
No One Piece, no IGPX. Just...
Now there's a marathon they should do. IGPX.
that would be neat. It would also... I mean, it'd be cool if they could do something to celebrate Adult Swim's 25th anniversary. But,
True.
I mean, what really can they do for that?
That is a very good question. Everything's kind of locked up in rights jail.
Yeah, they're once again mirroring their original Adult Swim lineup early in September as a tribute night. but they don't have Cowboy Bebop anymore, so they're running the Robot Chicken Adult Swim special, which premieres, I want to say, earlier in the week. Which, all right. All I gotta say is, if they had played Lazarus instead, there would be riots.
I would have laughed. It's honestly what I would have done.
I probably would have done it too. Mm-hmm.
It's Cowboy Bebop with the cereal filed off, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the opening sure makes you want to think of it. Or the opening's trying to make you think it anyway.
I'm kind of wondering if, because weird, that's gonna happen, but other weird thing is English dub episodes of Bleach haven't shown up for the new season on Hulu
Not
yet.
till that's going to be at the end of the month. I looked it up for my own reasons.
Is it the end of the month?
It is the end of the month. Same time we're going to get the Mao dub.
Huh. Wow, they really dubbed some episodes to put in theaters, and then they're going to make you wait so long.
It's the Dragon Ball Daima treatment.
Aha! Not quite that bad.
Not quite that bad.
Close, but not quite.
No, they just made you wait like 5 years for that one.
Yeah.
No, it's more like 1.
Yeah.
Not even really that, but
the low-hanging fruit guess for September 5th would be an Uzumaki marathon.
And I was going to make a Housing Complex C joke.
I mean, they really should play Housing Complex C again. They have refused to rerun that for years now.
I love the heck out of it, so I would love to see it.
They better at least play it on Halloween this year. Every Halloween goes by and they don't play it. I'm like, come on. Come on. It's perfect to throw on at like 2 a.m.
It would work way better as a run-through than it did in sequential runs, I think.
I think we all agree on that much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, nothing real exciting going on with this schedule for a while. See you on September 12th.
Actually, Toonami will start airing Scavenger's Reign on September 5th, which is pretty awesome, but that's all we know for now.
Vacation time.
Yeah, we're going to take the opportunity to do some off-topic and some One Piece catch-up and just take a week off one of these. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and say it. I'm not planning on recording a live podcast next week. If there's a podcast out next week, it will be pre-recorded, and I'm going to record it tomorrow. I need a week off, and I'll get it however I can.
Hey, you deserve it.
I do. And on our next One Piece discussion, which should be very soon, perhaps next week, gonna have a special returning podcaster. Look forward to that.
A mystery.
Ooh, a mystery person. A mystery podcaster. It's a mystery podcaster.
I think Luffy would like that mystery guest on that mystery podcast.
Uh-huh. Yes, he would.
You should disguise their voice with a, voice changer and then have everyone guess.
Oh my gosh.
The masked podcaster. I think people would be able to guess just by what this person says. So maybe we could try that. That could be fun. But anyway.
That sounds like an April Fool's Day episode in the waiting.
Yeah, maybe. So yeah, that's the schedule update of what it is. Well, they're kind of creatively throwing the Fooly Coolies on. I'll give them that much. Otherwise, wow, pretty skippable. Unless you've missed any of these episodes of My Adventures with Superman, in which case, catch up. It'll be a good time. certainly worth rewatching some of them.
Absolutely. Even if the season's a little rushed, it's still solid.
I agree. And these are a couple of real solid episodes, so let's talk about them. Yes. In episode 28, 8th of the season, it's raining supermen. Ha 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 ha. You know, clever title and all, but I don't think it really suits the episode at all. They're just trying to get a reign of the Supermen mentioned in there somewhere. Because this is still very loosely adapting elements of that arc from the 90s comics.
It's borrowing ideas and throwing it into a blender, which I actually kind of like.
I do like some of that, yes. There's some mixing and matching and going. There's some wild swerves. And your mileage may vary on how you end up liking those. But when we last left things off, Clark and Lois are greeted by John. He's back, but he's looking way more brooding. And there's a girl with him. Turns out that in this version of the future, they had a daughter named Laura.
Took a little bit longer for Clark to die this time.
Yes. It's not quite determined if he had lost his powers before Lois got pregnant with them. I think they're twins. They might be twins. That sounds right. I could be wrong.
Be.
They're very close in age, if nothing else.
Yeah.
So the timeline keeps getting adjusted as it does. This is Dragon Ball time travel rules, as we've already established.
This actually reminds me a lot of X-Men time travel. You fixed it, except for now it's happening again.
It's also Tokyo Revengers time travel.
Oh my god, you're right.
Metropolis event, Metropolis Revengers.
Oh my god.
So these Metropolis Revengers, well, they're not like inhabiting. They haven't been born yet, so they can't do that. But yeah. No, this is Dragon Ball rules because their original age going back to the past. But yes, Jonathan's back and he's looking different. He's sounding different. He's a lot less nice. Like a lot less nice. And I just gotta say, I really enjoy the duality of the character that Darren Criss is pulling off here. Like, he was so bright and cheery last time, and now he's all dark and brooding. It's totally believable. He's just that angry teenager. It totally works.
There's a bit of a core to his personality that is the same across both because it's the same guy, but you can tell the experiences are different for each one that have formed a different outcome. And I really like the little small details you get like that.
Mm-hmm. So Lois and Clark are like, "Oh, John, you're back." He's like, "What? I've never been here before." And they're like, "Oh, dang, we like completely rewrote John's whole life. Uh-oh."
Well, shocker. Wasn't that the idea?
And well, yeah, that was the plan, wasn't it? It just didn't turn out well. Now did it?
Not particularly.
But hey, now you have a daughter. So that's a plus. And that Laura's like immediate, like, was I in an accident? I was like, no, it's just not the time for an existential crisis, girl. Not the time.
Oh no.
Not the time for an existential crisis on Infinite Worlds. Yeah. So these time travelers from the future, their mission is not to save Superman. Their mission is to kill Lex Luthor because he caused the world to be awful. according to them. And our brief glimpse of the future when John returned, pretty good indication that, yeah, things are bad. So in that future, Luther rules, and he has these Eradicators that are his forces, and they're Kryptonian clones with some Lex Luthor brain matter, and he's able to control them using something that looks very Brainiac-like, not gonna lie. Very Brainiac-like. But maybe it's not. Maybe it's just more of a generic Kryptonian thing. I have reasons for believing that, and we'll get to them. So, things are not going well with the whole parenting thing. Lois is having trouble connecting with Laura, realizing that the General Lane that sent them here was not her father, but Lois herself, who is a General Lane. Wonder how similar she is to the General Lane that we met before.
They really are pushing that.
Yeah. Well, she's very concerned. See, Lois is concerned about becoming her father and also being a terrible mother. And she's also just kind of concerned with, not being ready for the future. So she just likes the present, doesn't want the future to come. But the future keeps coming every time.
But the future refused to change.
Well, it's actually changing a lot.
Well, yes.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Clark's trying to talk to Jonathan, and he will remind you that it's Jonathan, not John. And Kid really blows up on him for not being there for him. He's like, I had to learn how to use my powers all on my own. It's like, hold up, bro. Your mother's still alive. So you got at least a little bit of help, right? But yeah, he's very bitter. And while I can somewhat understand that, another part of me is like, dude, this is your chance to meet the dad you never did. And you're completely blowing him off? Seems like a waste.
He's being angry, but it is wasteful.
Yeah.
Typical
it's
teenager.
Understandable. Meanwhile, Clark is continuing to get these visions sent to him from the Fortress of Solitude. And he's like, all right, maybe there's some way to get my powers back. And over at LexCorp, Luther is tinkering with something, and Slade walks in, and he's like, hey, you got an inspection coming up. You think you should be preparing for that? What's this project, by the way? He's like, oh, yes, this is Project Eradicator. I used some Kryptonian DNA and some of my own brain matter. So this is kind of the more traditional Superman clone formula that we get, where he mixes some human DNA, particularly his own DNA, into the mix. But at least in this case, it's more for control than anything else. I just thought that was kind of an interesting wrinkle.
There's an interesting twist on Superman 4 there.
Yeah. That is not really what the Eradicators are like in the comics.
No.
Even though they
good, though.
are Kryptonian DNA. Yeah, this is something else that they decided to call the Eradicator. It's a little bit of doomsday. A little bit of doomsday.
Yeah, a little bit.
Again, they're, mixing in elements from different things, and it's pretty cohesive considering all that. So Amanda Waller strolls in, and Slade's like, well, I guess you're working for her again. And he's like, Waller, yes, no, that's not ready. You don't want to see that. She's like, nope, show it to me. So shows it to her. He's like, all right, I've seen enough. Shut it down. It's like, no, you don't understand. We need something like this. This is what's going to put humanity back on the top. It's like, excuse me, Lex. How is it going to put humanity back on the top when you're using the power of these aliens? What could possibly go wrong?
Logic in my plan? Get out of here!
It's called the Eradicator? What were you expecting? Yeah. Then Laura busts in and tries to kill Luther, because that is her mission. And Luther manages to unleash the Eradicator before it's ready. Oops. That's not a good idea.
Oopsie doopsie.
So everybody rushes over to LexCorp, and they're greeted by Slade, and he's all like, sorry, kids, can't let you in. They're fighting down below. So they go through the sewer, and Lois and Clark fall in, and Lois is like, are you okay there, Smallville's like, yes, the sewage broke my fall. Ew. Poo gas. Duty water.
Not sure if you should be grateful or not.
Well, at least it's soft? Question mark?
Ish.
I don't want to think about it. And then we get kind of like a horror situation where there's this terrible Eradicator creature in the underground attacking people, and eventually they take it topside, and Supergirl helps out, but she can't handle him alone, and there's a moment where Clark is about to step in, and Lois is like, no, you can't. This is a job for Superman. And ultimately, when it looks like Jonathan's going to get thrashed, Supergirl sacrifices herself, taking the beam that the Eradicator fired, and that puts her in pretty bad shape. Pretty bad shape. And just when you thought it couldn't get worse, this crafty Eradicator, who is, by the way, self-healing and self-evolving. What were you thinking, Lex? That is just a terrible combination if you want to try to control it.
I don't think he's much like any horror movies ever.
Yeah. So he, the Eradicator, kind of cackling, takes the time machine device. By the way, Luther does point out his prototype for the time machine to Waller. He's like, you could go back to the past and defeat your enemies before you just planting that seed. But yeah, he takes the time travel watch from Jonathan and disappears into the time stream. What could possibly go wrong? A lot. I think I think a lot.
Yeah, I would say a lot.
And reeling from that, Supergirl is in critical condition, and Clark is gone to the Fortress of Solitude, thinking that maybe there's a way to get his powers back. Jeez. Pretty bad situation. Pretty bad situation as we begin episode 29, Ve Victus. Clark ends up, he gets knocked unconscious at the end of the previous episode, and now he wakes up in the fortress, and he's greeted by those drones that are all like, we didn't tell you to come here and get your powers. We'll give you your powers, but you're going to have to prove that you're worthy of them by becoming a conqueror. But like, imagine it's like, you've been sending me those visions, right? It's like, we didn't send you nothing, bro. I don't know what you're talking about.
I guess he got that thing that somebody else sent him.
Yeah, maybe something else, and maybe. So in order to get his powers back, though, Clark continues to, fight back at the idea that strength is hurting people. But
are these guys Kryptonians or Saiyans?
It is revealed that they are the Brainiac of old. Apparently not the same Brainiac that raised Kara, but like the original model. But let's be real here. They're not so different. They're really not. Not so different. So they're kind of sending Clark on a vision quest, though it's more like virtual reality. And I saw Jake Wyatt tweet Sword Clark online, and
if you die in the game, you die in real life.
These invaders are coming, Kal-El, and if you let them kill you, you will die. The Brainiac voice is so good.
It really is.
So that's his task. He has to. Apparently, the original Saiyans, they were not powerful. They could not fly. They didn't have these superpowers. They were primitive. So Superman's going full primal here. Or like Conan the Barbarian, really? He's got a big sword. He's got...
Oh, what is best in life?
Yeah. He's got face paint. It's quite the outfit. Quite the outfit, Clark. So in this ridiculous getup, which I suppose is appropriate for a warrior, but it's just kind of silly to see him this way. He is tasked with conquering these invaders that are the same invaders that landed on primitive Krypton, which the Kryptonians defeated and then stole the technology and became stronger, learned how to fly, empowered their son, which, by the way, his Fortress of Solitude is powered by like a little version of that sun. That's important. Remember that. That's actually what the... No, I'm wrong about that. Never mind. Well, yeah, that is important, but I was thinking of something else. I was mixing up things that has nothing to do with the Cosmic Anvil. No. Right. So, these invaders, the Colon, apparently, one of them immediately attacks Clark, and Clark doesn't want to fight him, but realizes, okay, well, this guy's going to shoot me if I do nothing. So he starts getting really aggro, actually, and as that happens, he seems to be regaining some of his strength, but it's like, it's a bad strength. It's an evil strength. So he stops himself, and he's like, whoa, what just happened? And in that moment, he gets knocked off a cliff, along with the Colon leader. And the majority of this journey is him learning to communicate with the Colon leader, trying to show him that he's friendly and not trying to hurt him, and eventually getting him back to the camp where the others are, as he realizes these guys are not invaders, they're just refugees. And it's really a totally messed up situation. And that manages to... Well, it doesn't play out like the Brainiac of old thinks it's going to. Because every time that Clark has a moment where he's getting, the bad energy, he calms himself, he stops, he refuses to give in to that power. Because he's Clark.
Indeed.
Yeah.
This whole sequence, I keep thinking, they're gonna pull a tricky here, and you proved yourself, even though we told you to do this awful things, you didn't let yourself do it. Congratulations, you win. That is not where this is going.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Lois and Jimmy have made a reluctant alliance with Waller, who is referring to these new teenage Kryptonians as assets, and Lois does not like that. Understandably so. These are children, not soldiers, even though they are probably technically soldiers also. And they're here to fight. But, man, angry Jonathan, just what he's so frustrating. So like, okay, so what's the plan? We're gonna fight, and you're gonna stand off to the side, and like, well, everybody's gonna do their part. Yes, and what's Dad's plan? Well, he's gonna go get his powers. Oh, we're never good enough for you in any universe. It's like, whoa, buddy. First, you were mad that she was gonna have you fight. Now you're mad that the plan is actually hoping that Superman comes. Like, pick a lane, Jonathan.
Nope, I want to be mad no matter what you're doing. Ha 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 ha.
Yeah. Once Kara awakens and has a moment with Jimmy, she goes to try to talk to Jonathan and convinces him to come help. Which, is a tall order. I mean, even though he is... Well, he was here to kill Lex Luthor, and now they have to kill something far, far, far more difficult to kill. But it's all related to trying to prevent their terrible future from happening. So, I feel like he should be a little bit more on board about all of this, but he's just got to be a broody teenager. Yeah.
As you do when you're a broody teenager.
But when she's, when Kara is talking to Jonathan, she explains, your father's not perfect, but despite his imperfections, he always follows through. He always does what he can, and that's why he seems perfect. And Jonathan's like, fine, I guess. So, begrudgingly goes to help the efforts. Speaking of begrudgingly helping, Lex is not really sure he wants to be involved in all of this. And believe it or not, it's Jimmy who gives him a talking to. Be like, dude, this is your mess, and you have a way to help. You either need to start acting like a hero or admit you're the villain. Ooh! Jimmy!
This hits so good because of the way this version of these characters have actually interacted.
Uh-huh.
This is someone who, at one point, was Lex's friend.
Mm-hmm.
That's gotta sting.
Yep. Well, that kind of puts some fire under him and gets him to work on his headset thing so he can try to control the Eradicator. Good luck with that, by the way. Good luck with that. And he's pinpointed that the next disturbance in reality will happen around the same place that Zero Day happened, and Amanda Waller calls this new operation Project Doomsday. I see what you did there. And hey, a bunch of the gang is here. We got Livewire, we got Heatwave, because they're a pairing, they're always there together. You got Agent Avery, Agent Martin, Dr. Irons. And he forges some new weapons for Lara and Jonathan, which is pretty sick. And the Eradicator shows up. Yikes. Yikes. The Eradicator shows up, but he's looking very different and sounding very different. And if you didn't recognize his voice in his previous form, I'm sure you recognize it now. Oh, yes. It's our dear friend Steve Bloom. And man, You just love to hear him. He's just this wonderfully condescending performance now, where he's all like, "You're all beneath me." And Jonathan, he takes his shot. He tries to do the future Trunks thing and slice him in half, but he forgets to dice him up and do the vaporizing. Those are very important steps.
Those are very important steps if you're going to do the future Trunks thing.
And
Nobody
probably
is
not
doing their
just because of
research.
that. Yeah. But probably not the only reason that didn't work, but it might have helped. But once he slashed this Eradicator in half, you see him split into two, and you have this refined, thinner Eradicator, very imposing, and then you have like the big, scary one, too. So now you have two. Oh boy. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. That's not good. That's not good. So that goes well.
Head cutting going on here.
That goes real well.
We may have made it worse.
We may have maybe made it just a wee bit worse. But getting back to Clark's vision quest, after returning to the camp and not getting killed by the invaders, Brainiac is not thrilled with the results, and Clark is kind of pulled out of the vision. And this is when the Brainiac is like, this is not what a conqueror does. And it gets real when he rages over the idea that his 10,000 years of servitude to the Kryptonians was unnecessary. I'm like, yeah, dude, it was. It was wrong what they did to you. And Clark realizes, oh, you're the guy I saved. That was you. And he more or less confirms that.
Yeah, that's heavy stuff right there.
But the Brainiac is still not quite satisfied with that, and well, cliffhanger, he still doesn't have his powers, and he's in dire straits. Can't wait to see what happens next.
I actually am very excited to see where this goes. This is pretty compelling.
Yeah. They are setting up quite the finale. Quite the finale. Okay. Paul, I'm sure you're just champing at the bit.
I mean, I have been a good boy and been quiet.
You have been. So, I want to hear all your thoughts on these thrilling, action-packed episodes of My Adventures with Superman.
So, first I have a question, because don't get me wrong, when I watch these episodes, maybe sometimes I miss things because I have kiddos running around, but when was it okay for, I call him fake Superman, to all of a sudden just show up and be like, oh yeah, take me to the Fortress of Solitude? Like, did they meet up in whatever, or did he just keep showing up like I remember and nothing really came of that, and then all of a sudden now
he's just been kind of in the background. The most he did was help Kara that one time against the
but he
Dr.
disappeared
Poison
really
people.
quickly.
Yeah.
They've seen him here and there, but yeah.
Well, if Clark is getting visions that are calling him to the Fortress of Solitude, it stands the chance that Bizarro is also getting similar things.
Probably.
Or maybe these guys can actually leave the fortress and they abducted him.
Well,
I don't know. He's just kind of a convenient foil.
Yeah, I mean, he just shows up and it's like they don't really acknowledge, like, oh, who is this? They like the next scene, it's him taking Clark to the the Fortress of Solitude, and I'm like,
Yeah,
okay,
all
I
they're really
Cardass into
saying.
Taken, but yeah.
Yeah,
I'm like, can we acknowledge like who this is? Do you guys want to actually introduce it, or are we just gonna assume that we know you know that? Okay, whatever. Moving on. Like that was a little weird, but I mean, other than that, I mean, I enjoyed both episodes. This is where the whole season should be at. Now, it's you can see that they're trying to connect the two sides of this because I think we've all come to the conclusion that there's two seasons in this one show at this point, um, which
basically.
makes
Yeah.
sense. I mean, they're trying to they're trying to do as much as they can, not knowing where this is going to go. I have a feeling, or at least I hope, that they'll at least let this go on for another season or two because it's done so well. I can't see this not getting greenlit because it just makes sense. Um, by the way, side note, I'm a little confused that we still haven't seen Green Lantern yet she's supposed to be in this season. So obviously there's one more episode left, so she's gonna have to show up this time, but it's like, okay, right? I guess you're just gonna show up for the very last episode. All right, sure. Um but anyways, so I'm trying to figure out, and maybe you guys are trying to figure this out as well. Is this another Brainiac? Or is this maybe two Brainiacs into one? Because Kara did dump the Brainiac that warped her into what she became into the Fortress of Solitude's memory. So, and let's face facts, Brainiac does take over electronics. So, is that what this is, or is this really the old Brainiac that Clark has never met? I'm a little I'm
I
interested in
think
that.
I think it is at the very least a copy of the mind of the original.
Okay. But
But
I
I mean, unless they confirm it exactly, I guess we'll never really know.
I
Because
just
we
it's
know that the other Brainiac is in the Fortress of Solitude somewhere.
yes.
I believe he's shut down too, so
Yeah.
at
Well,
least
I
supposedly.
don't think that one is like influencing this, though.
okay.
It's fair it's fair to think that that might be the case, but I don't think that's what's going on.
Well, the only reason I bring that up is because when this season first started, he was at the Fortress of Solitude, and those guardians, I guess I'm going to call them guardians, um, didn't weren't really like that, and now all of a sudden it's Brainiac here, and it's
They
like,
were a little
huh,
foreboding, at least,
yes, but
but
it
yeah,
was a little weird. I don't know. We'll find out. We'll find out.
Can I
I'm
hop
assuming.
in here, Paul?
Yes, you may.
Cool.
please do.
So the Brainiac that Kara brought in was a Brainiac CPU on the to the Fortress of Solitude. It wasn't anything from what I know or anything else that was like influencing anything else in the Fortress of Solitude or giving those other robots the stewards, as they call them, and with that one main one being the chief steward. So he identified himself as an uncorrupted copy of Brainiac. So there's different versions of Brainiac. The Brainiac that you've seen that tried to take over everything was a corrupted form. These are distinct from that entity that Superman,
Hmm.
Meta, and Kandor, and so all that other stuff. So it should be, even though there's foreboding and everything else, they're basically doing the same thing as what the last episode is. Well, the penultimate episode that we just seen is that they're like servants, right? And this
Yeah.
is how they have to go about. They are serving the Kryptonians. They know the Kryptonians are like that. They'd never met a Kryptonian like Clark who does not want power, who does not want any of this stuff. And so they're going to push him in that way, like a steward, like a butler, like anyone else would do to steer the course, because that's what they're always doing for that. So technically, it is not an uncorrupted form. I don't personally, I don't think that is correctly true, but there's some corruption in there. But
There's definitely
the,
some corruption in there, just not the
Yeah.
same
I mean,
corruption.
what about like 10,000 years and like or however long they've been in there, and Superman just goes there like twice a year or something to see how he's doing in the dust, like everything. It's like yeah, they're gonna go crazy in that thing. They don't come out. They don't see people. They only see the same old robots all over. But yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, that's basically what they were. You can go on, Paul.
Okay. Well, that just means that there's probably going to be different. If they continue the show, there might be different Brainiacs that we encounter. Then maybe that's what's going to happen.
Mm.
That is an interesting thought, though. Like, because if you remember, Brainiac wasn't split off into different when I say parts, like different beings, I guess is the best way to put it.
Mm.
But it would be interesting to see if maybe that's what they're trying to do is have like different Brainiacs. Because to be honest, it does make sense that his mother and father would want to have like a Brainiac there, just because that entity could guide him in the right direction if it's uncorrupted. So, I mean, I guess it makes sense. But I also find it interesting that they're saying like he puts him into that simulation and he's like, you have to conquer these guys. But then the servants are those guys. And he's basically showing him, hey, this isn't what I would have done. I'm not a Viltrumite. So I'm not going to conquer you. Sorry, I had to use that reference. But this is what should have happened. By the way, I'm sorry it did. And then the Brainiac goes a little insane, and then that causes Bizarro to go insane, and then we end the episode. But um, yeah, that right there, I was kind of just like, huh, okay, well, that's a different way of the Kryptonians getting their powers, which leads me to ask the question of if they were just normal human beings, which in some versions, well, actually in all the versions, they don't have powers because there's a red sun, but because obviously Earth has a yellow sun, that's why these Kryptonians powers on Earth. So it's interesting that they're saying, at least that's what I'm interpreting from it, somehow they got the powers from these creatures. So that's an interesting twist that I'd like to see what that implies, what that means. Um, Also, clearly there's a different timeline going on. If now all of a sudden Superboy and oh god, what would you call the others with this? It's not Supergirl, right? I don't know.
Yeah, she's just another version of Supergirl.
Yeah,
Okay,
Supergirl too.
is there a
Maybe
There
we
are
call
Supergirl?
her
many,
Power.
many
Maybe we
versions
call
of
her.
Supergirl.
Maybe she's Power Girl.
No,
I'm not
no.
being 100% serious there, but
Which, by the way, Laura Kent is named after Clark's biological mother, Laura L.
Huh. Interesting.
But there isn't a canonical daughter for Superman. It's
So
only in like Elseworld stories, um, like when he ends up marrying Wonder Woman. That's one version of Laura Kent.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, but this version is Lois's daughter, so it's like, huh?
Yeah, in the Injustice storyline, he has a daughter named Laura with Lois.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, very interesting. So it okay. So they're starting to put some. Well, not starting. I shouldn't say that. They're putting some new twists into this storyline. But I guess what I'm trying to say is, if this was the same Superboy that came back in time the first time, because remember when he went back to the future, here's Lex Luthor in control, and then even Lex Luthor's like, I don't even know what you mean. I didn't send you back, kind of thing. Um, it's interesting. Maybe Lex Luthor wiped his mind or something. I don't know. It's That's another question to be answered. I mean, it's not anything that's important, honestly, at this point.
No, I don't think he just doesn't remember going back. Actually, I
Yeah,
didn't even think about that. But when he got
yeah.
captured, it's very possible that Lex wiped his mind.
I
Huh.
mean, it does make sense because I think the Eradicators were there, if I remember correctly, or at least that's what I think they are now.
Yeah, there
So,
were Eradicators.
so is that a different timeline, or is that, you
It's
know
a
what I
different
mean?
timeline.
Yeah. So that's interesting if that plays a little bit of part later on. If this series continues, I hate saying if this series continues. It we shouldn't even be saying that. Uh, what else? What made Lex think that it was okay to put a time travel device in that creature's hand before he got control of it? That makes absolutely no sense, and I think Lex Luthor needs to die.
No, he didn't do that. He stole Jonathan's. He stole Jonathan's time watch thing.
Lex had nothing to do with it. The Eradicator ripped it off Jonathan.
Yeah, his prototype wasn't even working yet. That was
Okay.
just kind of to acknowledge that he's working on it.
Oh yeah, so I guess I missed that part. So okay, that makes more sense then.
Yeah.
That part I must
I
have
had
missed
to
it.
go back and double check that Lex actually unleashed the Eradicator. Part of me was like, well, did Laura accidentally do that? No, he panicked and unleashed the Eradicator when she showed up. So, no, not really her fault. Totally Lex's fault.
Okay. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, well, yeah, I remember Lex hit the switch, so yeah, that's his fault.
Totally
But
his fault. It's like, bro, he wasn't even done cooking yet.
idiot.
What were you thinking?
Yeah, he's an
It
idiot.
wasn't.
Yeah, clearly
No,
he wasn't.
well, it's that brain injury he gave himself, basically. Uh, yeah, yeah. I mean that's basically my thoughts. I'm glad that this is actually. I'm glad that this second half was a lot, in my opinion, has been a lot better than the first half. Um, but you know, I really wish they wouldn't have just what do I say, dangled this. If I just wish they wouldn't have like they would have just let them do another season, because
In
I
a
feel like
normal season, we wouldn't be having the Eradicator disappear in the previous episode and then already back now. And
yes,
though
Yeah.
it's clearly been to many different places and evolved for a long time before coming back here, we should have had time to, process that before we
right.
went straight to Doomsday.
But I will say the way that they've done it in this that they did it in this episode didn't make it seem like it was rushed. I will say that it didn't seem like,
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I think
why
I
did you
think they
show
did
this?
well with what they had.
Right, and I don't think they did that well in the first half of this season, but they definitely did it well here, which is good because I think had you done it in a different way that made it seem rush, it would have been terrible.
The
Um,
biggest problem with the Cyborg Superman storyline is that you didn't feel the character progression for Hank. He just went from kinda problematic to totally psycho in an
so
instant.
so that one should have, I mean, we said this last time we talked about Superman, but that one should have been more flushed out.
Yeah,
That should have gotten a full 10 episodes to make it what it was. Because honestly, it could have been a lot better than what it was. And
I agree.
because, we,
It wasn't bad, but they definitely had more meat on the bone that we
Mhm.
just didn't
Absolutely agree with that.
didn't get any of that meat,
Not
which is a shame.
whatsoever.
But this Eradicator, uh, it's a pretty simple antagonist. Like, there's not much. We don't need character progression for the Eradicator.
No.
He's a force of nature, basically. So, even though I personally would have found it interesting to like see his journey going from place to place and learning what he's capable of. Like, that could have been really interesting, but
That could have been very interesting.
you don't really need it.
No, I don't think that needed it. I mean,
But yeah, you definitely could have gotten
yeah,
a whole 10
true.
episodes off of just this Eradicator storyline if you wanted to. And maybe they did. It's also just kind of, I don't know. It's weird that they're almost inventing a final boss. It's like we're gonna pull elements from Doomsday and the Eradicator and other clones of Superman and just kind of throw them in a blender, and that's our final boss. Okay. I think it was Mr. AJ Tibbs in the chat the last time we talked about Superman that said if we were gonna have just this season, that he was kind of glad they didn't try to do Darkseid. Like, that took some restraint. Because, every Superman show, you got to end up with Darkseid, right? But they didn't do that.
Eventually, yeah.
Yeah.
No Darkseid. I'm going to go ahead and spoil that. There is no Darkseid in this season.
Well,
Good,
no, I mean, I
because
don't
if you
think,
throw Darkseid into one episode, that would be bad.
I mean, it wouldn't be.
You know what would be cool, though? If, like, they can't beat this guy and then Darkseid shows up in one shot.
Okay,
And
that
then
actually would be
leaves.
really, really funny.
I mean, it might not fit tonally, but, like, you could totally see that.
I could see it. That would be a great way to set up a season 4 if they knew they were getting it.
I think that what would be interesting is if they do the smart thing to kind of set up another season, which I would assume they would still do because we've seen shows do this before. We've seen it where it's unclear if they're going to get another season, so they set it up like something else is going to happen. Um, I do think Darkseid's kind of the next natural progression, but I think it would be more of he sees because Darkseid obviously can see a lot of stuff. He probably sees this happening. Superman stops this person, which we would hope, the Eradicator, and then you know by doing that, it gets Darkseid's attention, and that's what gets him to start paying attention to Earth and Superman. So Yeah.
Small correction. I guess maybe Mr. AJ Tibb was talking about Doomsday previously.
Yeah,
So
he was talking about Doomsday, but I still with Darkseid, I still think that would be a great idea. But yeah, I mean, this is
I would like to see how they would handle Darkseid
yeah. I'm interested
and
to
like
see.
the whole apocalypse and new gods and all of that. Like with the style of this show, that could be really cool. Or controversially, as they say about most things in this show, everything would look fairly generic.
By the way, if they
Yeah.
do another season, I want them to kind of throw. Well, there again, if Superman wins, he changes the future again, like by beating
Mm-hmm.
the Eradicator, essentially. So I would love to see
Can you ever
Lana
really
Lang
fix
get.
the future?
No, I think this is going to be one of those things where that's the problem is the future is ever changing, and that's what's causing all these issues. But I was going to say, like, you want to introduce some real trouble for Lois and Clark. Uh, introduce Lana Lang into that, and that should be interesting.
You know
So,
what? They're definitely showing restraint by not involving Lana as like a romantic foil for Lois.
and see, that's you know, it really bothered me when even in the animated series, Superman the animated series, when I think they only showed her in one episode. I was kind of like, but she was such a big part of Clark's up I don't want to say upbringing because she's not a parent, but she was part of him growing up. So it's like, why wouldn't she be more involved? I mean, look at what happened. I understand that it's supposed to be Lois and Clark come together. I mean, we've seen this in live act, the one live action version when we were kids. Obviously, it's ingrained that Lois and Clark get together, Lois and Superman, whatever. Um, but it would be interesting to see a different version where it's him and her together, because I don't think they've ever explored that. And would it have been a better fit for Superman in the long run? Because you got somebody that was basically, for all intents and purposes, your best friend growing up, but you end up with this other woman. I'd like to see a version of that Superman down the road. If it's not in this series, some other series, because I think Smallville was kind of onto something when they almost went into that direction, but then came back to Lois. So, yeah. Who's next?
It's
Everybody's still
quiet.
there. Yeah, I know. I thought we lost people for a minute there.
Oh no, I'm still here.
What, did I blow you guys away that you don't want to talk?
I didn't want to talk over what you had to say.
Yeah, you kept going, Paul.
Well, I had a lot to
Well,
say.
now that he's done talking, do you have anything to respond to him with?
I mean, I don't know that I go into the Lana Lang thing. I think that's a lot to throw at people, especially if they're not as familiar with the comics. But everything else, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, I would say a few things. So the
Please.
Eradicators, most likely when you were talking about the different time jumps of what Jonathan Kent was doing. The Eradicators, when they went back, were robots, and so that meant that Hank must have took over or something happened with that. That Lex he didn't do a genetic version of the Eradicators, so you can see there's two
Mm.
different versions of that. This one is more genetic, more primal in its nature, more natural or unnatural. Um, and so that's why you see this one acting all like,
It's an
you know
abomination.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Um, when, uh when you were Paul in Sketch, you were talking about that side, journey that Jonathan went on and how he could have wiped his mind. He could have used the Black Mercy, with which we seen in, season 2, for about 3 episodes, when, Superman,
Oh
developed all
yeah.
those, like yeah, that's the Black Mercy. Originally, it was a flower that would manipulate things, but now it's a technological thing probably he got from or they got from Brainiac, got from, his race and all
Mm.
that other stuff because that's probably what they enslaved him or how they enslaved him. Um,
Oh
so
yeah.
that was an interesting thing. So if that was the same one and he wiped his mind or whatever he did and everything, then that's the way that you could have seen it. But yeah, I mean, it would be kind of obvious. Uh, they don't have like any pupils in their eyes, and they wear a dark mascara around them. So Um, aside from that, yeah, Brainiacs, or at least from what I was thinking is, it's not Brainiac, it's really the stewards, the chief steward, and then the steward. That's why they all kind of sound the same because they are all versions of the same stuff. Paul, you were saying about how different Brainiacs would go down the line. Um, People who watch Legion of Superheroes, or what was it? The Legion of Superheroes, in those past shows, they had different Brainiacs, Brainiac 5 being the nicer Brainiac. But they had different ones, they just named them everything. The lore with Brainiacs and all of the lore of the planets that they came from, a little bit crazy, a little bit out there. You're talking about, because Brainiacs, those, what are they called? Hold on. The race that which is actually a pretty cool thing that they're actually saying about the race because you don't talk about that race, about how, those conquerors came to, Krypton, which is a side note, which is a weird thing as well, because it's like they came with guns and everything else. And I know we just see Clark there as Primer Clark, as Clark L, the barbarian. We just see him as one lone person. But they're coming there. Somehow something happened there. I would love to see that story of like how that happened over decades, eons, years, whatever, how long, to see that progression of how they came there and how they got conquered, because that had to been crazy for them to do, turning because they got the technology later. But if these were primitive super, as you can see, as what Superman was wearing and everything else, it's like the tech he wasn't using, he had no tech, right? It wasn't tech, it was primitive stuff. And like, how did they go from point A to point B unless to ensure their survival, um, they had to become subservient to them. And then eventually it didn't work because all the tech that they gave to the Kryptonians, they turned around and used it against them and, like, ported all of their brains into robots because they can live, like, long time. Those, uh, darn, I forgot what their names are, but, yeah, they could live for, like, I think it was, like, 3,000 years. I don't know, something stupid. Um, but yeah, there's some crazy stuff with that, lore there. Nice to see, all the, stuff we seen from the past seasons coming back. So, seeing all the what was it? The metahumans coming back, the Olmecs coming back, all the different armors that they had. Lara getting a spear, almost like Neon Genesis Evangelion. Jonathan getting that sword, like Trunks. So there's some cool stuff in there. Let's see what else.
It's a bit
Operation
more of a
Doomsday.
Cloud Strife Buster Sword, really.
Yeah,
Totally a
more of it.
Buster Sword.
Um, but the other thing, the sun, Arao, which is basically their god. They can turn any the tech that they got from um the tech that they got from the Coluthians, the tech that they got from them, uh, helped them turn their sun into helped them turn their sun from dying into a yellow sun. But eventually something happened that turned it the other way because that's how Clark gets to Earth, right? Something happened that the planet blew up, the sun exploded, whatever else, they could not stop it. And so that is interesting to see that kind of like connection
So
right there
wait,
because
the
yeah.
technology of the Coluthians allowed them to modify their sun to be a yellow sun, which then
Mhm.
gave them the Kryptonian powers.
I think there's a little bit more into it. There had to been some DNA stuff
Yeah.
that there had to been something in there that they seen that they can modify themselves to become a stronger version of it and pass it down. The sun helped it because it helped amplify it because they were already worshiping that thing as a god. So why would you want if you were at that point, you had to think the sun is doing something. So if you're trying to save the sun because you know somehow it's dying or it's not acting what it was used to do, these ones helped it somehow. They did something, but also in the stage of that, maybe they couldn't figure out or their biology couldn't do it that if they changed it, they would have to change their body to become these superheroes, and everything. But you see that all Kryptonians don't have that power. But somehow in there it did it because Krypton would have been if we go by the comic standards, Krypton would have been full of superheroes if it was like that. But somehow, somewhere along the way in this universe, that happened, but they all died. So something there is still more of this story that they want to put out, and you can tell they do because some of it doesn't make sense unless I'm just going crazy and I'm just putting too many pieces together that don't even fit in this puzzle.
You know what? I think you're actually onto something because I didn't realize until you said that what Brainiac was saying because I'm like, well, what did they do? They got some kind of technology and so that they could be Superman. And then I'm like, well, then you said that, and I was like, okay, that makes more sense. So they got the technology to change their sun to a yellow sun because that essentially saved the sun because it was going supernova, and they changed it so that it was yellow and that it was healthy, which because they were under a red sun this whole time, because of the change, it changed them to supermen and women, which then makes sense.
But it still
So,
would it still wouldn't explain how Superman's powers because if it was just the sun that was doing it, right? Then Earth's
yeah.
sun should be fine for him, and he shouldn't have lost his powers because if it's just the sun that's doing it, that yellow sun just doing it, then giving him his powers, then he would have the powers, and it wouldn't really matter that he loses the powers. But that's what it shows every time that he goes over his limit or whatever he does, and it like zooms in and these sparks are going in. It must be something on the DNA molecular level that changed within
Mhm.
his body to do that. And so to get his powers back, it must be another change somehow that he has to do it or something. I don't know.
So
But
someone
the
just needs to
sun,
get some jumper cables on him, is what I'm hearing.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
just
You need
you just
you need
gotta
a couple jumper capers.
activate the Kryptonian hormones.
Yeah, you have to get someone with the same kind of like size and build because if you do a smaller one on him, it doesn't jump it and it wrecks the battery.
Well, we got a nice big
Ah,
big guy with him. Maybe that's the key. I was joking, but
might be
Another
onto
thing,
something there.
I would want to say the Black Mercy is not being used on Bizarro, which is strange because you would think they would have the same technology inside the Fortress of Solitude, but it is not.
Interesting.
No, they're just kind of manipulating his mind other ways. Or quote unquote, returning him to what he was meant to be. Like, hey, buddy, that's not what the scientist wanted for his son.
Yes.
he wasn't
Yes.
made by you or any of your people, so you don't get to say what he was meant to be. Come on now.
Hmm. And
He was
good
meant
on
to be his
Clark for
perfectly
being,
sweet guy.
yeah. Good on Clark for being like, hey, leave him alone. You let Bizarro go. And please don't use him to fight me.
Even though you're going to.
We can all see that on the wall, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, Clark doesn't have his powers back yet. We have this terrible Eradicator that is clearly going to wipe the floor with everybody that's trying to fight it right now. And will the Green Lantern ever show up? These are all questions for next time.
On Superman Z.
Or Viltra might see. Whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
Whatever. I mean, I hate
Thanos,
to say this.
Viltrumites, it's.
I hate to say it, but Jonathan did come off like a Viltrumite. Or like I was saying before we started recording the podcast, Vegeta.
No, he's not at all like Vegeta. He's way too insecure. I think he's very clearly cribbing from Future Trunks.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
He's got daddy issues. He's got insecurities about whether or not he can do it. He wants to prove that he can do it, but he doesn't know if he can do it. And he's got a big sword, and he cuts a bad guy in half. This is all Future Trunks coded.
Very. He's got a jacket too. I mean, that's a Superboy thing, but still, he's got a jacket.
Cool guys from the future's got to have a jacket.
I will say that outfit that Laura and Jonathan are wearing is from the Kingdom Come comics.
Oh, those are good comics to crib from. Those are really good.
If they really wanted to like really make it blatant that it's Trunks, they should have put like some purple highlights in his hair.
Well, if they are Saiyans, perhaps the only way for Superman to get his powers back is just to get really righteously angry.
Oh, righteously angry. Let us say righteously angry.
Yes, righteous indignation, if you will.
Not the bad hormones.
No, well, I mean, if we look at that way, this is my Dragon Ball nerd coming through. If you look at the way Super Saiyan Goku happened, it's because he was angry about something that was done unjustly.
Mm-hmm. Isn't this like the third time in this show where there's like somebody has to live through a glimpse of the past?
They love doing that.
They really do. Which, by the way, they have very impressive virtual reality technology in this show.
Hey, I mean, alien tech, why not?
Yeah, alien tech. Why not?
The Eradicator, he must have got the good genes on Luther's hair because Luther doesn't have any, but the Eradicator has pretty good hair.
So you're telling me that good hair is a recessive trait?
Yes.
He must have been. That's the one thing that Lex. That's the one thing that Lex couldn't cure, so he gave it to the Eradicator. He's like, hey, you know what? He should have some good hair.
Good Kryptonian hair.
He's just inheriting the Clark Kent hair.
Yep.
You see the very early version of the Eradicator doesn't have hair, and then he grows it out, and it's nice and. Yeah. It is a choice to do Doomsday but not do Doomsday, and they kind of did that with both Cyborg Superman and the Eradicator. It's like there's a little bit of Doomsday in
Yeah.
there, just
Yeah.
a little bit.
Mhm. Once he cuts them in half, it becomes like a whole Doomsday thing again. It's like, you know.
Yeah. Mhm. Just a little bit of Doomsday. You couldn't help yourself. You had to do a little bit of Doomsday.
I mean, it's a cute wink and a nod. They're cribbing this whole story, and they're playing with it, and I don't mind. It's an interesting little jumble.
I agree.
And
Well-
I'd prefer this to badly adapting it.
True. Okay, I think that about does it. Any final thoughts, gentlemen?
I'm just excited to see what this last episode brings us, because I think it could be good, but we'll have to wait and see. Don't
I
fuck
think
it
we're
up.
gonna see some awesome mixes of characters doing awesome things, and maybe a Green Lantern doing awesome things. Who knows?
We shall see. You can email us at podcast@toonamifaithful.com. Follow us on facebook.com/toonamifaithfulpodcast and on Twitter @toonamipodcast. You can listen to the podcast on just about everything, including Apple Podcasts, CastBox, Deezer, Google Podcast, iHeartRadio, Overcast, Podbay, Podbean, Podcast Addict, Radio.com, Spotify, and the TuneIn app. And you can find every episode of the podcast to stream online at the same place they found the encrypted clinical trials on Lazarus, soundcloud.com/Toonami Faithful Podcast. You can get the latest news by following @ToonamiFaithful.com on Blue Sky and @Toonami News on Twitter. And read the news, views, and reviews on ToonamiFaithful.com. Steven, tell the folks where they can find you.
You can find me on like every platform known to man under MXA Ghost. Yeah, that's about it. It's okay.
Laser, tell the folks where they can find you.
Well, you can find me on Twitter @LaserKidPrime. You can find me on Blue Sky @LaserKid. And you can find me on my podcast, The Simuldub Saints, where me and my co-host Archangel talk about crazy simuldubs. And we often have people from over here over there. Sketches on there a lot. Steven's been over there. We got to get you eventually, Paul.
Yeah, I know you keep neglecting me. It just makes me sad inside.
You don't watch a lot of simuldubs.
That doesn't matter. You're just making me feel neglected.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, neglected Paul, where can folks find you?
Oh, in the corner crying because everybody neglects me.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Anyways, enough with that bullshit. So you can find me on social media, Pub Skrillo on pretty much X this time, because I haven't been using Blue Sky, unfortunately. I want to, but I just feel like nobody's using it. Yeah, you can email me, pulpskrillo @toonamifaithful.com if you want to tell me anything. But be nice.
I feel
And
I
then-
have more actual conversation on Blue Sky, but I have more engagement on Twitter.
Yeah, it's kind of sad.
That sounds about right.
Tis what it is. Anyways, Sketch, where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Sketch1984 and on Blue Sky, Sketch1984. I want to thank you for listening to this podcast, whether you tuned in live or listening to the podcast as podcast after I've done the whole throw it in and into an editor thing, put some music on there, move some things around, yada yada. A finished product that's not that different from how it was originally recorded, to be honest. However you like to hear it. Maybe you like to hear it both ways. Please be sure to share the podcast with your friends if you think they would be interested. And until next time, start acting like a hero or admit that you're the villain.
No, Kal-El, you cannot forgive their student loans. When we got out of college, our loans were collected. That is the way of the student loan counselor.
That does seem like an opinion that Brainiac would have.